It is called esophageal thrush, and that's yeast in your throat. And she's like, what that means is that's a symptom of being HIV positive, and you are HIV positive. I felt really disappointed in myself. The gentleman who gave it to me and I contracted it, he didn't give me a choice. He didn't tell me he had it. He didn't tell me, hey, let me do this. He didn't say anything. So he didn't give me a choice whether I could or not. And that was the thing that was taken from me. I knew in my mind, logically, I should have left. But I was like, no, I do not want to leave because I don't want to go back to my abusive family. You have to make a decision. Figure out that you're done, that you can no longer deal with that abuse. You deserve better because you do, and then make a plan. And then, because it's not going to be an easy walk, but you understand that the journey is going to be well worth it. On the other side, there is glory. On the other side, there is peace. I am TENIECKA Drake, and this is my story. Well, TENIECKA is a mother, a disabled veteran, a woman who's been dealing with HIV, and a believer, the most important, a believer in Christ Jesus. My childhood was very unique. I had some good days, but a lot of it was growing up in abuse. It was a lot of survival mode for me. So it wasn't as cheery as I would like it to be, but that's part of my story. My mother is Jamaican and very, very strict. So there was a lot of things that would happen. Like there was a time when I was growing up and young, and there was some food that I had taken, like a piece of cheese and a chicken drumstick, and I put it underneath my bed because I was still hungry. Well, my mother was unhappy with that and said, since you want to steal, she took out everything in the refrigerator, and this is when I was really young, sat it on a table and sat me before, said, since you want to steal, eat all of that. I was in tears. She's like, don't cry, eat it, eat the head of lettuce, eat everything since you want to steal. So that was traumatic in itself. So we went through kind of things like that, myself and my other siblings, and it would happen often. So yeah, she was quite strict. So I wanted to go into the military. I wanted to go to the Air Force, and the reason was because I was trying to escape my abusive family. So not the greatest reason to join, because of course I wanted to serve my country, but my whole main reason was to get away from my family. So at first, my grandmother tried to help me get into the Air Force Academy. Well, that didn't plan out. So then I joined and went through to join and to be enlisted and go do the regular route. And I was sent to Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas, and that's where basic training was to begin. Unfortunately, it didn't begin because it ended quicker than it began. So it's as I'm going through the basic training, and my basic training was literally about 10 days before I had to be X'd out and sent somewhere else. And so the abuse that happened to me kind of happened in between those 10 days, and then I was placed in a psychiatric ward in the military, and I didn't ask for that. That's where they placed me. So because the sexual abuse had happened, they had told me, the person I was dealing with, the TI, said, well, I have to, you don't belong here anymore. I need you to get out. And so he came up with a plan. He devised a plan. And I said, I can't go back home because I'll be looked at disgraceful. Like I came to join the military, I came to serve. He's like, don't worry about it. You can still get out honorably. You just, go look a little crazy. I was like, wait, hang on a second. You're telling me I'm gonna get out with a psychiatric issue, but I don't have one. He's like, well, that's the honorable way to get out. I was like, so you get to retire with a regular 20 years and I get to be deemed as a person that has a mental break, even though I didn't do anything. He's like, you still get your money. I was like, but I'm gonna be deemed, when anybody talks to me, they're gonna think I really have a psychiatric problem. Don't you think that's bad? He's like, no, that's not bad. He's like, so this is what we're gonna do. Make sure you make your hair really crazy, because I gotta believe that you don't have it together. I was like, okay. And he's like, and then you'll be fine. And sure enough, I listened to him, and sure enough, they gave me all the pills because I followed that. And then when I was sitting in there, and there was another gentleman that had been placed in the psychiatric ward as well from a totally totally different unit. And he said, what are you in here for? I was like, I don't even know why. I was sexually harassed. I don't know why I'm here. He's like, well, you don't need to be here, but you can't leave. So that's where I spent the rest of my time. So the whole thing was kind of a little bit of a blur of like emotion. The only thing I was thinking, like, I can't go back home. I don't want to go back home. Like, I came into the military to get away, and now you guys are getting rid of me, and where I'm going to return. I'm going to return back to the very people I'm not trying to go with. He's like, you have some family member left in Colorado? I said, my grandma. He's like, well, there, I'm gonna send you back to Colorado Springs to your grandmother. So he shipped me back to my grandmother, who was the only one living in Colorado Springs because my family had left. And that's how I ended up coming back from Texas to Colorado Springs. The whole thing was a lot of anger, a lot of hostility, and I would snap on people because my dream was snatched from me. So I was very angry. It wasn't trying to get justice, it was trying to get revenge on everybody. Like, I don't understand why I was even kicked out. Like, this seems very unfair. The next story of me becoming an HIV positive person was I had met this gentleman when I was working at Peterson Air Force Base. And so we started talking, and he told me he was like 27 years old and he took an interest in me, and so we got together. And of course, me doing what the Lord wouldn't have me to do, we were intimate with each other, and I later found out I had contracted HIV. Now, I didn't know that I had HIV this entire time I was dealing with this gentleman, and he never told me that he even had it. The only reason and the only way I found out is when I was trying to eat and drink something, and my throat was just burning. I could barely even sip water, and my throat was just hurting so bad. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is this? So I go where I'm at this time, I'm visiting my family in Missouri. They're on Whiteman Air Force Base. And so my dad's, well, we'll just go down to the clinic and ask them what's wrong. Maybe you're having a sore throat or something. So I do. And the lady says, well, let's run some tests, because she said, that sounds a little odd. And she's like, your throat hurts and everything? I said, yeah. She's like, you can't even drink water. It's like, it hurts to even try to eat. She's like, that sounds like something. She's like, it sounds like you might have esophageal thrush, and that's like an HIV condition. She's like, but you look way too young. She's like, I don't think that's it. She's like, you know what? I don't want to guess. She's like, let me just send you out from some tests, and then it will tell us what it is. And she said to me, she's like, I have some news for your throat. And she's like, it is called esophageal thrush, and that's yeast in your throat. And she's like, what that means is that's a symptom of being HIV positive, and you are HIV positive. I was like, really? She's like, yes. She's like, so what we have to do when it's on the military installation, we have to inform the commander, and we have to inform some other people. So she's like, they'll be reaching out to you, and then you'll have to speak with them, because this is a big deal, and the state's gonna be called as well, and they're gonna come and talk to you. I was so shocked and dismayed, and like, what is happening? I just got out of the military, and I was just getting ready to turn 20. I was like, okay. So they're asking me, upon our understanding, you have contracted HIV, and we want to make sure that you're not messing with any of our military people. And then one of the gentlemen said, and he was for the county, he's like, I need you on this paper to write down everybody that you've laid down with, because they need to know. And if they're the ones that gave it to you, we need to inform them. But we need to know as much information as you can give us. We need to go back and backtrack how this happened to you. The base commander said, I don't want you to come back to this base. You are banned from this base. Don't come back here ever again. And so my family had to whisk me back to my grandmother in Colorado Springs, and I've been dealing with HIV now for 24 years. I got married in May 27, 2008. And right after that, I had my beautiful daughter in June 13, 2008. Now, if you ask me what was the argument, what transpired, what was the whole thing that happened, I have no idea. All I know is I was hit, I was upset, and I took my little baby at the time outside into the garage. There was no car in the black of night looking up into the sky with all the different colors of the fireworks, and I'm sitting and standing in the garage, just tears and wondering, okay, do I go and run and go tell my parents this has happened? Because they already didn't like the guy, and I already have to deal with HIV. What do I do now? I'm not working, and he's the only one that's working, and what am I supposed to do? I knew in my mind, logically, I should have left, but I was like, no, I do not want to leave because I don't want to go back to my abusive family. I'm just gonna have to figure out and stick it out. Maybe it will get better. At that point, right there and there, I made the decision to stay from the very first incident of July 4th, 2008, and the abuse continued. My ex-husband was very controlling, very abusive, very sexually aggressive, brought other people into the marriage bed. It was wild. Like it was not a marriage. I don't even know what it was, but I won't be too graphic in detail, but it was not a marriage, and it was not under anything with the Lord at all. And I remember there was one time I went to my closet at night, and I closed the door, and it was a walk-in closet, so I was reading my Bible, and he scared me so bad because he opened the door. "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm reading my Bible." He's like, "Oh," and he slammed the door back. I was like, I was so afraid. I've never been so afraid in my life. He made me very afraid to do anything. And he would always want to know what I'm doing, where I was going. I said, "I'm not controlling you." But he was. He would say he wasn't, which was, now I know later on, he was gaslighting me. "You're not being controlled. What are you talking about? You're fine. You're free. You could go wherever you want. Who's controlling you? You're free to go. You're free to do whatever." And that wasn't really true. And I didn't know because I had never been really in any domestically violent situation. So I had no idea. And I would get up late at night like, am I in an abusive situation? Am I not? I was confused. So I was like, it seems like it, but no, he says he loves me. And every night I would go and search on Google, well, what's domestic violence? What is it? And I would be researching, and I was like, well, I can't be in that because he said it's not right. And every time we would have an altercation, he said, "Baby, I'm so sorry. You know I love you. You know what? I'm gonna stop starting today. I'm not gonna do it again." And then it would happen again. And it would continuously happen over and over. So there's been a few different incidents. One is I was on my way to go to a VA appointment in Denver. And we normally take stuff with us because we have our kids and always hungry. And I said something to him, and I can't remember what it was. And I was driving that day. And he took the bag of the cans and he swung it, and it busted my lip, and blood just kept gushing out onto my shirt. And I was wearing a white shirt. So I'm looking down and my lip is busted. I was like, "Oh my gosh, look what you did." He's like, "Well," I was like, oh my gosh, there's blood everywhere." He's like, "Well, you shouldn't have made me do that." I was like, "I have to go to my appointment with a busted lip?" He's like, "Let's go home and clean you up before you go up there and change your shirt." I was like, you did, I'm so sorry. You just shouldn't make me angry like that, and that would never happen. And the very last incident that probably was the top one that I will never forget, and that's what made me leave, was when he had come home, and I had purchased McDonald's for everyone, and he came in and he had a bag of something. He said, "Here, happy Valentine's Day." And I opened it, and it was some little weird earrings. I was like, okay. He's like, "You don't like it?" I said, "Is this what you bought for me?" I was like, "I don't want that." He's like, "What'd you say?" And he took the Big Mac and he flung it across the floor over the dining room table, and it hit the floor. I was sitting down and he was standing over me, and he's 6 feet, and he looked down at me. He said, "I'll go to jail for assault." And I said, okay. And it was a look I've never seen before. Like, he's always been pretty aggressive, but this was a different look, and it scared me. So I got up and we started tussling back and forth. And at the time I had my phone in my hand. I was gripping it, and he was trying to pry it out of my hand. And so somehow I got turned around into facing the wall, and he had two of his hands just squeezing my neck. And after he was done, it's like he's trying to pry the phone out. And it's like, oh, and I was like, Lord, I have to hold in this phone, because if I don't hold it, I don't know what's gonna happen. And then he finally let go of me, like pushed me, and he slammed and ran out the door. And I called 911 right after that. And when the officers came, they said, "You know what, man, that's a felony. That's a felony what he did. That's a strangulation." And that was in Arizona. And he's like, "That's strangulation, and that's not good. We need to go and find him. I mean this. This guy's not he's not a nice guy. So those were kind of the major ones that I remember that I kind of went through, that I'll never forget those incidents. That moment I knew, I said, if he comes back this time, he's not gonna stop, and I will be in a body bag and I can't be here. So I was trying to do everything in my power to try to stay, because I was working at the time too. I was trying to stay with my job. I was trying to do everything, and I had to tell my manager and my supervisor, I have to go, and they said, we know. And I had to turn in my resignation. So after that, and they're telling me that you go back to California, whatever you have to do, just go. And so I packed up my kids, packed up whatever I could pack in my little vehicle, and that's how I ended up in California for 6 years. I felt really disappointed in myself, and I felt angry at myself because at the entire time, I had been a stay-at-home mom for 7 years. And when I got the job working for the state, I thought my job being a mother, I thought me being a mom, I need to go out and to go get a career. I need to go get a job. And I left my kids unprotected. Like, if you would not have gone and got that job for the state, your kids would have never been abused. But because you wanted to go get a career with the state, they've been abused probably more times than you even know, because you were too busy at work. So you can't see what's going on when the dad's home, you're at work. And my kids would say that, well, you were too busy working. And so I felt a lot of guilt about that, and a lot of shame and all of that. Like, I felt guilty for working. I was like, I should be at home. There was a lot of soul searching and a lot of getting involved in the community, a lot of therapy. I was trying to, as soon as all that stuff happened and I escaped and fled and left that whole situation, as soon as we touched down in California, I was looking for services for my kids. I was like, they all need therapy. And I remember there was a therapist like, that's great that you got all your kids in therapy. Kudos to you. But mom, you need therapy too. You can't give them therapy and you not get any, because you're not gonna be good for anything because they're getting therapy. You need it too. So you need to deal with this. So kind of stayed doing that and just reaching out and doing different things with like art and just having time with me, spending time with them. So that's where things started to shift, and starting every time we would go and I would drop them off at school, I said, okay, who's praying today? And I do that now. And they said, I'm praying, Mom, and they pray. I was like, okay, well, you guys have a good day. My book is titled The Gift of Finding God's Love, Guilt and Shame Turned into My Shine. So when I first wrote this book, if you can believe it, I wrote this book in 2018, but when I was writing this book, I was not yet divorced. And I was very scared to even write it and get it published. Because while I was also writing this book, I was living in a transitional housing. I was literally homeless. I was homeless while I was writing this book. So what would happen is I had a curfew I had to be in by 11 o'clock. And they would always open the door to see if I was there. And I'd be reading the Bible. There's no TV in there. There's no internet. So I'd have my little Bible out and I'm reading. So in the mornings, after I do my chores, I would go back to the transitional facility, and they had a computer lab. And I would go in there and I would type my little pieces of my pages. Every day I would type. And at 3 o'clock in the morning, I would lay on the floor at my parents' house. I would write out by hand. And then I would take that paper and I would go type it at the transitional place, because I didn't have a computer and I didn't have access to a library at the time. So by the time I finally finished it, I sent it to the lady and she said, we're gonna review it. And after they reviewed it, said, we like it. We like it, we will publish it for you. So we'll make it for you, we'll do the cover for you, we'll put it together for you, we'll put it in the Library of Congress, you'll get your ISBN number, we'll take care of all of that, it'll be on Amazon. We will take care of it for you because we really like your story. So you can find the book on Amazon.com. It's also in audio now, so you can find it on Audible, and you can also find it in Barnes & Noble, Walmart.com, any place you just put it in and you'll be able to find this book and get it either in paperback or Kindle if you like to do it digital, or audio if you just want to listen. So for a long time, it was a lot of hostility, and then as I was going through this and learning how to deal with the situation and actually grow my faith at the same time, because the Lord started sending me really mature Christians at the same time. And as I was going through it, I'm learning how to use what's happened to me to be a strength and encouragement to other people. The gentleman who gave it to me and I contracted it, he didn't give me a choice. He didn't tell me he had it. He didn't tell me, hey, let me do this. He didn't say anything. So he didn't give me a choice whether I could or not. And that was a thing that was taken from me. So I thought I would use my story of letting people know you need to know your status and don't let your body be in somebody else's hands. You need to know and speak about how they are affected and infected with HIV and knowing their status. And I did that, and I felt a lot better and empowered. Like, yeah, I need to start talking about my story before somebody takes it and they change my whole narrative. Fast forward to today, I still do getting back into the HIV space. I've just been approved to be on the HIV Planning Council, and they do a lot of the nuts and bolts of delivering services to the people that use the Ryan White Fund. And that's the young boy that had been diagnosed with HIV, and his whole family set a foundation with that money to help get the resources for people who need dental, medical, don't have insurance. So there's a lot of things that Ryan White does. So I'm going to be on the planning council that's part of doing that for people that live with HIV and AIDS. The very last thing was encouraging my kids to continue doing what they're doing. I want to make sure that just because I went through some of those challenges, that I show them that I'm pushing past it and God is in control, and I'm not going to let any of those hardships stop me, and I don't want it to stop them either. Right now, I am doing amazing, and I'm so thankful for all the different opportunities that the Lord has brought into my life. My kids are thriving, and it's been a very wild journey, but I'm so thankful that I am here. So, I am TENIECKA Drake. I am an HIV positive woman, a disabled Air Force veteran, a mother of 4 amazing kids, and a domestic violence survivor, author, and a beautiful child of the Most High God. And this is my story.